welcome back to my channel, Delightful Creations. Thank you for joining me today in another tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how to go ahead and complete your beanie. To do this particular stitch, you will need to refer to my previous video on how to do the spider stitch. This is a very fun stitch and it works up very quickly. Also, I am going to add this flower onto my beanie. You can also refer to my previous video on how to do the Aster Flower. It's a very fun flower to work with. I believe it's 12 petals and it works up really fast. And I knew this particular flower would go perfectly with this beanie that I'm going to be making here. So this particular stitch is worked up in an odd number of stitches, so I can't remember how many I did, but it does measure out to about 16 inches in width and about 8 inches in length. So just remember that it's an odd number of stitches plus 2 for your foundation chain. But again, refer to my previous video so you can see how this particular stitch is worked up. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so now we're just going to make sure that our ends are aligned with one another. And we're going to go ahead and make sure you have a yarn needle. You do not have to use a yarn needle. You can use your crochet hook. It's whatever you feel most comfortable with. But I'm going to go ahead and use a yarn needle today. And I'm just going to take my yarn needle and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to weave it in here. I'm going to try to get the first top loops. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull it through. And then I'm just going to continue and I'm going to make sure I'm getting through those top loops. Hopefully I don't get a knot here, which, trust me, happens quite often. And then we're just going to continue to do this particular weaving in and out. I believe it's called the whip stitch. And just whipping it around, and I'm going to continue to do this particular stitch all the way until the very end, and I'm just making sure that my ends are aligned with one another. And again, we're going to do this until the very end and hope that I don't get any knots as I'm pulling this through. And so join me back here at the end once you have finished weaving in these ends. Okay, so we are here at the end, and as you can see, it's all sewn together. And you can kind of see this part. It looks pretty seamless. It looks really nice. You can't see the seam, which is great. So now we're going to flip to this side. So again, you want to make sure that your string that you cut at that very last single crochet that you did in that row, that you make the string long enough so that you can do this side and this side, that you can sew in these particular sides without running out of string, because you don't want to have to tie a knot because you've ran out and it doesn't look as nice. So let's see here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to do this side, but we're going to do it a little differently. We're not going to do the whip stitch. We're going to weave in and out, in and out, in and out, because we want this to crunch together so that we can tighten it and it'll look the top will look, you know, how it's supposed to look for a beanie. I do want to apologize that if you hear my kids in the background, I apologize. I am a mother of 3 and it is really hard to tell them to be quiet, and because they're kids and they want to have their fun too. So I apologize if you do hear my kids in the background. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue. So we're going to weave in and out. So we're going to start here. We're just going to go right through where where it's available for me to go through, and I'm just gonna go like this, and I hope you can see that where I'm weaving in and out, and you're pretty much just going through those bottom 2 loops from your foundation chain. And we're just going to continue to weave in and out, and then I'm going to go ahead and pull it through. So I'm just pulling it through, and then we're just going to continue that process of weaving it back and forth to the very end. And that is the very end. Just going to give it one more, and then we're going to pull it through. And then once you pull that through, we're going to scrunch it. Pull it as tight as you can. And I'm putting my hand underneath just to see how it's looking there. And I'm going to continue to push it tight, or pull it tight, as tight as I can, until it should look something like this. Okay, so once you get to the very top here, you're going to weave it in a little bit more after you pull your string as tight as you can. Whoops. You're going to go ahead, and I have my hand underneath so you can kind of see, but I'm going to go from this angle, this side here, all the way through this part to the opposite side, and I'm going to pull through. I hope you can see that the string I am pulling through. So I went through that side, and then I'm going to take it back through the other side here. And remember, this is inside out. So once I finish doing this part, I'm going to flip it inside out. You won't even be able to see this part. And I'm just pulling the string through. And then I'm going to go ahead and do it a couple of more times, but in the other direction, so that I'm just untangling my string there, because I'm pretty much forming a knot. So I came this way, back this way. So here's the string coming out right there. I'm going to now go this way. And then I'm going to go back in the opposite direction. So back in this direction here. Whoops. And I'm just making sure it's nice and tight, which I think it is there. Okay, so I cut it my string here. And what I like to do, this is just me, is I like to unravel my yarn. I think this is a 4 ply. So then I'm just going to go ahead and tie it in a knot. And you can do this 3 times, I would say. So that's 1. And you can tie it in a knot as many times as you like. I always like to do it about 3 times just to make sure that it's fully secured. And then I go ahead and I cut it right there. And then I fold it inside out. And there you have your beanie. And now, because I'm deciding here if I want to leave it down this way or fold it up, but I think it'll be too short if I did it that way. So we're going to leave it like that. And we are going to go ahead and sew on our little flower. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and attach this beautiful flower on to this beanie. You want to make sure this is going to be double string here. So I'm using a yarn needle again, and I just tied it here at the very end. And we are going to go ahead and sew this flower into this beanie. So I'm gonna go from the inside here, right here, where I want it to be, and I'm gonna stick my needle through a point. It doesn't matter because it will be covered. You will not be able to see it. And I'm going to go into the back of the flower into one of these stitches. I'm not going to go through the hole because then you'll be able to see the orange going through the flower, and it will kind of disrupt the look of the pattern, the color pattern of this flower, and we don't want that. So I'm going to go behind the stitch here, and I'm going to pull my yarn all the way, all the way through here until it hits that knot. And then I'm going to continue to go back around, and I'm just going to kind of do like a whip stitch back through and into the next one, next stitch that I want it to go through. And then I'm going to pull it on through. Make sure it's nice and secured. And see how that's starting to look. Because once you kind of put that in there, it's kind of hard to take it out. If you mess it up, you'll have to cut it. Okay, so we're going to continue. So I'm going to flip this back around, and then I'm going to go through my next one here. And you don't have to go through every single stitch in the back of the flower. You just want to do a couple on each side. Because all you're ensuring is that it just doesn't come off. So I'm just kind of poking it where I see it needs to go. And I'm making sure that it's staying in the back of that flower, so that you can't see it, hopefully, from the front. Or that it's not over looping this circle pattern. And I'm just going to pull more and make sure that it's tight enough. If I feel like it needs to go again, then I'll do it again. I'm going to come back over here, I think, to kind of secure it over here. And this isn't, you know, down to a science. This is just kind of where you feel comfortable, where you feel like it's gonna work. And you can do it as many times as you feel you need to. And so I'm going to go more on this side because it's kind of not really secure right there. So I'm going to go over this side and just make it more secured on this side. And again, you just do it as many times as you feel you need to give you that completed, secured look. Once you feel that it's secured enough, you're going to make sure you come back through this side, the inside, and you are going to tie a few knots. So I'm going to probably tie 4. So this is 2, 3, and 4. And then I'm going to go ahead and snip it. Kind of hide it underneath there. And that completes your beanie. It's very fun, festive. It makes a really cute little girl's beanie. I just love it. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, please be sure to share and like and subscribe. And I hope you enjoyed. Happy crocheting!